Hey everybody, it's my pleasure to welcome fellow YouTuber Charles Berthoud. He has a bass channel. Yep. He's been doing YouTube for what, 3-4 years, something like that?
It's about 5 now, actually.
5 years. I'm a huge fan of his channel. He's an amazing player. I like making videos with other YouTubers because you actually don't have to do any work. Charles, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Tell me about how you started on YouTube.
I mean, I've been doing it seriously for 5 years, like I said, but I actually started back in 2012. And I started because I was really enjoying bass, really loving it, and kind of doing it in a more traditional way initially, like actually playing bass lines and stuff. But then I started getting more into tapping and slap and more soloistic stuff. And I did that live. I did quite a lot of live stuff before I really started focusing on YouTube. And with the live stuff, it was interesting because I was playing in all the wrong venues when I was doing the live stuff. I was playing in like bars and stuff like that where they were expecting kind of just like top 40 cover bands and stuff like that. So it mostly fell on deaf ears. Everyone was just kind of wondering what's going on. But then when I started doing it on YouTube, I found a niche. I found an audience who was actually really wanting to hear this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was just this amazing moment where I realized there are actually people who want to hear this. And so I just kind of kept going from there.
Now you do some incredible arrangements of songs, like your Smooth Criminal version that's amazing, or your Seinfeld video that you did where it's like you take the basic Seinfeld riff and then you start making it more complicated. Some of the stuff that you do technically is amazing, but it's always musical.
Thanks.
That's the thing that blows me away. Your video concepts are so interesting. We were talking earlier, he has this video where he had this spinning, insane spinning bass. How did that thing come to be? Where did you find that thing?
It's this crazy Swedish YouTuber called Mattias Krantz.
Uh-huh.
So I can't take any credit for the idea. But basically, so he's done all kinds of crazy stuff. Like there was one video where he milked 1,000 spiders. And so he got silk out of them and made a guitar string out of spider silk. And then just like, this was in Madagascar.
That's like a real YouTuber.
Yeah, he's kind of like, I guess a bit like the Mr. Beast of like music YouTube. He just does these like insane ideas. So he made this spinning neck guitar and was just like wondering if anyone could play this thing. And so he got 3 of us. It was me, Rob Scallon, and Ichika Nito.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen Ichika's video actually yet, but Rob Scallon's video is on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And he wanted us to all test it and see if we could actually make some music on it. And I mean, it's a tough instrument to play because it's like, it's hard enough to play guitar or something where the fretboard is just static. You know, you've got to like know this fretboard, but imagine now that the fretboard is like constantly changing.
Yes.
And every time you're like playing a note, it's different than it would have been like 2 seconds ago. It's like very, very difficult. So the video I did, I had to just like very much pre-plan it. Like there's no way I could improvise on that thing.
Right.
Like it was like I knew exactly like when I was gonna shift it and which fret I was gonna be on, and that's the only way you can really play some music on that, unless you're like some kind of absolute genius, I guess.
When you work out these pieces for your videos, do you remember them? Do you ever practice them again?
Most of it is very much in my short-term memory.
Yeah.
I practice it as much as I can to be able to do it in the video, and then forget about it. And because, and you know this, like as YouTubers, we've got to be like putting out content constantly. And so that's just the most efficient way to do it, is like, I'm gonna learn this like to the best of my ability just to be able to play it for this video.
Yep.
And then as soon as the video is done,
you erase your memory.
Forget about it. Yeah, exactly. Which is really efficient. But when it comes time to like actually playing these songs live, then I've got to go back and be like, oh crap, how the hell did I actually play that? Like I've got to like watch myself on the video and like relearn the song from scratch.
Are there some things that you'll go like, I can't figure out how I did that?
No, I can always get it eventually. Yeah. There are some where I have to like slow it down a lot and be like, what the hell was I doing there? And then, but I always get it eventually. I think sometimes it changes slightly when I play it live, but I can always get it like 99% how I played it.
You want to play something, one of your tracks or something,
yeah, sure.
kind of give people an idea for what you do?
Yeah. So in January, I've got a tour coming up with this Austrian guitarist, Bernd. He's also big on YouTube. I've really been enjoying collabing because for the last 5 years, I've been mostly solo.
Right.
So I'll play one of them now.
That's beautiful. When you go up to those high registers with your right hand, the notes come out and sound really full.
Right.
Why are you hitting them hard? Or do you have like incredible calluses on your fingers or what?
I mean, it's a combination of compression
Yeah.
and technique. So, yeah, when I first started tapping, especially when I'm using the pinky on my right hand,
Yes.
that came out thin and kind of weak at first.
Yeah.
But then just through lots and lots of exercises, I managed to strengthen it and get it to the point where it still doesn't feel quite as strong as the others, but I can use it pretty well, I think.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. Believe it or not, 57% of the people that watch here regularly are not subscribed. So I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button now. This will help me get even more of my dream guests in the future. Thank you. Do you have some things that you like to warm up with?
I mean, honestly, that song is a good warm-up, but I would say another good one that I do. So I did this for like many, many hours at Berkeley. Like,
Okay.
So it's just like major scales and octaves. And
Wow.
it's around the cycle of fourths.
Yeah.
And I would do that, and then I'd do minor.
Charles, are you using your pinky in there? You are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a mirror fingering then,
It
essentially.
is. Yeah. So that, yeah, I did that for maybe like a few months, a couple of hours a day. Sometimes, the funny thing about Berkeley is there's no amps in the practice rooms. I don't know why. So,
So no one will screw them up. That's
yeah,
why.
I guess. But I would do that with no amp, which sounds kind of horrible, actually. I'll show you what it sounds like. It actually doesn't sound
That
as bad
actually
as I
sounds pretty
thought.
good.
Yeah. But it's like when you tap with no amp,
Yeah.
you hear both sides
of
of the string.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, when you're at Berkeley, there's like saxophones around you because it's practice room with like loads of people in a corridor. So there's like saxophones and piano and banjo, whatever. And you can hear all of that as I'm trying to tap unamplified.
Right.
So I think that actually developed my strength pretty well because I'm having to tap so hard just to hear what I'm actually playing. So yeah, I did that a ton at Berkeley. And then I did some more. I haven't played this one for a while. Let's see how it goes. It's I'm harmonizing.
Okay. Okay, Charles, explain how you're playing. You're playing this hand, but the harmony note is on a different string. Can you just do it slow so people can see?
Yeah. So it starts off. So
in a tenth.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so these are in tenths here.
And then you just go the whole way up in tenths.
That's a great exercise to practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so when would you ever use that in a song? You could use that in a song.
That specific, it's pretty rare that I'll do that exact movement, just like going up and down in tenths. Although, I guess in some of my more solo-y stuff, I do that a little bit. But what I do more is just kind of the general concept of hand independence.
Yes.
So that's just one exercise that gets you more into hand independence.
Speaking of hand independence, you're a great funk player too. What are some of the things that you do to practice that?
I have specific slap exercises that I practice, which obviously there's a lot of slap in funk. I don't do too many like basic slap exercises anymore.
Yeah.
Like I've actually been trying to get better at double thumbing recently.
Okay.
And
give an example of what that would be.
So like a basic double thumb exercise, I actually kind of wrote this one myself. It's nothing special, but it's just like literally getting you into double thumb.
Okay, so explain double thumbing, because you do an upstroke in there. That's where the double happens.
Exactly.
Is that like a Victor Wooten thing? Was he who actually came up with that idea? Or is that your idea?
No, it's not my idea. I feel like anytime I try and figure out who came up with something, there's always someone in the comments who's like, "How you forgot this guy or whatever." So I don't know if Victor Wooten came up with it. But I do think he kind of popularized it, especially in bass, in the context of bass. That's definitely where I found out about it.
Okay, what would be an extreme version of something like that?
There are songs I play that are not my songs that have some crazy double thumb, like Power. Like that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I tend not to do like as much of the really fast, just crazy stuff when it comes to double thumbing.
Charles, that was crazy fast double thumbing stuff right there. So when you're working on something for a video, right, how do you come up with ideas?
I generally try my best to kind of let the ideas come naturally. I tend to not go into a video thinking like, I'm going to make this the craziest, like funkiest slap bass solo ever or something like that. I prefer to kind of listen to the song and be like, okay, what's this song asking for? Like I did that with Get Lucky, the Daft Punk song.
Yeah.
So I listened to that and I was like, well, clearly there's going to be some like funky slap bass in here. But then I also heard Voyager by Daft Punk. I don't know if that one. It's got like this kind of crazy arpeggiated pattern. And I thought that would be a really cool way that I could make it a little bit more unique, a little bit more my own, rather than just doing like the vocal melody and making it as like slaptastic as possible. I thought if I could have this kind of like cool ethereal tapping interlude, that would make it more my own. So that's kind of how I tend to do covers. I tend not to have too much of an agenda going into it. I just see what comes to me.
And how long will it typically take you to kind of come up with a video idea and then execute it?
Coming up with the video idea is always the hardest part.
Right.
I don't know if you've found that as well.
Every day.
Yeah, it's hard to just, keep that train going. So that might be the part that actually takes the longest, like the single part that takes the longest.
Will you just type ideas on your phone?
Yeah. I've got a list of like 100 ideas.
Okay.
And the problem is the YouTube landscape's constantly changing. So like 90
Explain
of
that to me. How's that?
Well,
no, actually, seriously, from your perspective, how is it changing?
Well, right now it's shifted much more towards shorts.
Yep.
At least for music content.
Yep.
And that obviously has a huge impact on the kind of content that people make. So I'd say there's a lot more kind of stripped down and raw content now on YouTube than there was before. I think people are looking a bit more for authenticity, whereas before they were quite happy to see very edited stuff. And you see that in the style of the thumbnails. The thumbnail style on YouTube is much more realistic. I'd say it used to be like crazy edited thumbnails.
Photoshopped.
Yeah.
Every airbrush, Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Beastified.
Right. And Mr.
things.
Beast still does that style.
Right.
And it seems to be working pretty well for him.
What is a beginning to end video of yours? Like how long does it take to come up with something beginning to end?
The whole process takes about a week. And that's kind of when I've already got the video idea in my head. Mm-hmm. Now my videos are pretty much all just straight up music.
Yeah.
I do some little bits of comedy here and there.
Yeah.
And I still like include funny elements in the videos, but it's pretty focused on the music. That's how I like it. So I kind of start coming up with the musical ideas right at the beginning of the process, like just recording. I often actually start with the most kind of, if I think there's going to be a really crazy part of the song, I start with that so that then I can relax and be like, all right, I've got the crazy part out of the way. Now it's all just like easier stuff. I do the bass parts and the drum parts kind of at the same time. Then I start adding all the other instruments if there are other instruments. Practice it for maybe a day. So that first part's maybe like a 3-day process, and then like practice it for a day, film it, and then edit it the next day, do the thumbnail.
And you do your own editing?
Yeah.
What do you do it in Final Cut or Premiere?
Final Cut.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my wife does my thumbnails.
Nice.
Yeah. She's really good at it.
Does she have a background in graphic design or anything, or no?
She was a painting major at college, and she's good at Photoshop.
How do you know when you have a good idea?
I think I have a pretty good instinct for it.
Okay.
Like usually if I think it's going to do really well, it at least does pretty well.
Okay.
There have been times where I've been so pumped about a video and then it gets like a 10 of 10. Like I'm sure you've experienced that.
Yeah, all the time.
It's so disheartening.
Yeah.
Because I'm like so excited about it and I can't wait for everyone to see it.
Okay, so just for context, when he said 10 of 10, YouTube rates your last 10 videos against each other. Yeah. So whatever it is, the ranking at 10 of 10 is the worst performing video you've had out of your last 10.
It's so cruel. It's such a cruel system.
It's cruel, but I'm always like, well, some video has to be 10 out of 10.
Yeah, true. And once you've had enough bad videos, then it's easier to get the 1 of 10 again,
Well, some videos just have a natural appeal to more people, so there's nothing you can really do. But if you're working on a particular piece and you spend a lot of time on it and it doesn't perform like you expect it to, it can be disheartening.
Yeah, I put a lot of effort into every single video that I make. And so, yeah, it can be disheartening when it's a 10 of 10, but it's something I've definitely got used to over the years. Like, it really used to bother me when I first started out on YouTube. Like, I would actually get pretty angry. But it's just, like you said, there are some videos that don't appeal to as wide of an audience.
Yeah.
And if you focus entirely on getting 1 of 10 all the time, you're going to stop doing what you actually enjoy doing.
That's right.
You're going to be constantly putting what, like, the mass appeal wants over what you actually want to do. And that's not the reason that anyone gets into YouTube in the first place.
Right.
And so you got to have that balance. Like, I make videos now sometimes where I know it's going to be like a 10 of 10. And then when it is a 10 of 10, I'm like, cool.
Do you think about the fact that, I mean, you're basically at 2 million subscribers. That's a massive amount of people. And you have videos that get millions and millions of views. Do you ever think about that? Or you just kind of are used to it at this point?
I don't think about it a huge amount. It's very surreal when you just see it on a screen. It doesn't feel that real. It's very abstract. I don't think human brains are really designed to comprehend that kind of data.
Right.
But the time it becomes really real is when I go somewhere like NAMM.
Yeah.
And then lots of people there recognize me.
Yep.
I actually went to NAMM for the first time in whenever it was, February or January this year. And it was actually a pretty eye-opening experience because for a long time, I'd just been so focused on online.
Yeah.
I hadn't really played many live gigs for a while. So then when I went to NAMM, I was like, oh, wow. Like, this is what all of this means. Like, all of these views and subscribers, like, it really helped to make it more of a reality.
Well, you're a recognizable guy.
It's the hair. That's it. I'd say I'm fairly bland looking other than the hair.
Is it harder to play sitting down or standing up?
Maybe slightly easier to play sitting down.
Do you adjust your strap when you stand up or no?
No.
Same thing, right?
Yeah. I do sometimes enjoy playing standing up more just because I can like move around a bit more and I feel like I can get slightly more into it. But sitting down feels slightly more relaxed as well. Kind of puts me in this like chill state of mind.
Okay, so you have a quad cortex. Let's talk about your rig a little bit. So this is binaural DSP.
Yeah.
When did you start using this?
So I've been getting back into live stuff more recently, and I got this specifically for that purpose. And I got it probably back in February, I'd say. So I've been using it only for like 6 months or so. But it's incredible for traveling because it's basically like a full rig just in this little box.
Yeah.
Which is much easier to transport than like giant bass cabs and stuff like that. And it's, so you can like save these presets. So this is kind of my clean. And then got reverb here. Distortion. And then here, this is kind of this crazy lead sound I came up with, which is basically just distortion with 3 octaves.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How do you use the wah-wah with this?
The wah plus distortion sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this will be your main rig when you're out touring, right?
Yeah.
And you'll just use DI and then use monitors on the stage? Or will you have an amplifier typically?
No,
or
no.
Or do you
amp.
use in-ears?
In-ears, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's literally just this plugged into the PA and then some in-ears, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, so how easy has this made touring?
Way easier. Well, especially when I'm like flying somewhere, for example. Like, to be fair, I haven't actually done a tour where I've had to fly somewhere with like a cab and all of that. But I'd imagine it would be much more difficult and much more expensive than this, which I can just put like
right.
in my hand luggage or something. It's like kind of crazy how much power you get with just something this size. So yeah, for this Europe tour coming up, I think it's going to make things much easier.
Your computer rig that you're using there, so the Universal Audio is your interface.
Yeah.
And then what do you use? Are you using Logic?
Yes, I've got Logic going, and I've got the Universal Audio Apollo Twin there.
Are you using any plugins on when you're playing with your backing tracks here or not?
Not at the moment, no. Most of the stuff I need, I can do in here, but then There's also some really cool. There's a UAD plugin, the Pultec EQP1A.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that can be really nice. Sometimes it's just like a little bit of extra EQ. Sometimes I prefer the tone of the 1176 compressor as well. And then actually, if I want a bit of a different tone, I sometimes just bypass this and I go with the UAD Ampeg SVT amp modeler. And those are probably my 3 main UAD plugins that I use at the moment.
And your main clean sound is your first patch, right? That you have. You have a little bit of compression on it.
Yeah, it's pretty dry. So I've got, the first thing I have is a noise gate, and then compression, and then an amp modeler, and a bit of EQ, and just like, it actually has a very little bit of reverb on it.
Does it?
Yeah.
Play it a little bit. Let me hear that. Really small room sound there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I find that a little bit of reverb goes a long way to give slap, just a little bit of sizzle.
Yeah.
Almost makes the pops cut through a bit more, I find.
Yeah.
The second patch is actually distortion.
Okay.
And then I've got reverb here. And then this is my crazy lead sound. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You want to play another track?
Sure. Yeah.
Nice. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Tell me about your bass here, because we didn't really talk that much. So this is your own Schecter signature bass.
Yeah.
When did this come out?
Last November. Mm-hmm. So almost a year now. And yeah, basically, I wanted it to be something that I can play really quick. So I wanted it to have a lot of speed. Mm-hmm. And one of the keys for that is quite a thin neck.
Yeah.
It's actually probably one of the thinnest bass necks that I've played, which I really like because it just makes me feel like I've got a lot of fluency and I'm just not having to tense up as much in my left hand. And then another thing I absolutely love about it is the really deep cutaway. I don't know if you noticed that. So like, I can get up to this.
Charles, you're playing the highest note. I've seen you play it a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
Even bending it.
Yeah. So I need really good access to that because, you know, a lot of basses, you've kind of got to go like this when you're at the top.
Yeah.
So having it like this just makes it so much easier to play fast up there. So those are two of my favorite things.
What are the different controls here?
So this one is treble.
Yep.
And then this one's mid.
Yep.
So I generally have this one on like 8.
Okay.
And the other two on 10. So then this is the bass. So that's
oh, wow.
super thin. Yeah, they have quite a wide kind of frequency range.
Yeah.
Then this is volume, and then this is the blend knob. And I usually have it right flat, like right at 5.
Okay.
So
you mean we're blending both pickups then?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, just equal blend.
And why is that?
It gives me the perfect balance of crisp, poppy stuff, especially, which is really good for slap.
Yeah.
But still maintaining sort of those mids, which allow you to actually like cut through in the mix. Because if it's too metallic and poppy, then you kind of just start sounding like a hi-hat, you know what I mean?
Right.
Especially in the mix.
Yeah.
But one thing I do like to do is roll back to the bridge pickup. And I like to do that when I'm doing tapping in like a band setting.
Okay.
I don't know, I think I did that in the first song because it just gives you this more mid sound that helps you cut through when there's a lot of other instruments playing. So it sounds like that rather than...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a big difference.
Yeah.
I literally just roll it back to maybe like 4 out of 10 or something. That you can hear that much better when you're combining it with, say, like a guitar or something than if you have it in the middle.
What is the body made out of?
The body is ash.
Yep.
And the top is flamed maple. I really love the top.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. And then these red strips, I never know how to pronounce this. It's like padok or something. Or
Paduk.
Paduk?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's like an African wood.
Okay. To be honest, I don't really know that much about like wood and what kind of tone it creates or anything like that, but I really like the way it looks.
And did you work for a while with Schecter?
Yeah.
Were you playing Schecter before that and they approached you?
Yeah, they sent me maybe like 6 instruments before I got a signature with them. So I had a 6-string stiletto, a 4-string fan fret stiletto, a 5-string. I had one of those bass 6s. Do you know them? Like yeah. So I had a lot of stuff with them before I did a signature. And then we spent a while figuring out the design and everything. And they knew just from my videos and everything that I was going to want something very agile. Like they're not going to give me something with like some fat neck and like really like sticky, or it's like it's got to be very playable.
When you're on your tour, does your YouTube channel just have no videos out? How will that work? How do you think about these things, or do you not even think about them?
I'll probably try and get some sort of backlog going. I'm not very good at that. So I don't know about you, but I
never have any backlog. I have no extra videos ever.
Yeah, well, I feel like I can tell because sometimes your videos are very current. Like you're talking about the Spotify top 10 or whatever. Yeah. Like you can tell that you just made it in the last like couple of days or something. Yeah. So that's how I am too. And I'm really bad at like forcing myself to create a backlog because basically whenever I make a video, I'm always just excited to release it. So then it does make it a bit stressful sometimes though, like when I have this tour coming up. So I think what I'll try to do is get a bit of a backlog, but also try and make content on the road. I think that's something that people could do a little bit more of. Yeah. Like just filming. Burnt actually does this, the guitarist I'm with. People want to see what it's like backstage. They want to see videos on stage too. Like he has one of these 360 cams that he just like puts around his neck. And then you can see like all of the audience and the other band members and everything. I think people like to see that because that's not a perspective they get to see very often. So probably try and do some of that too, just to make the tour a little bit more stressful. Add another thing to my plate.
So who does your shorts editing? Do you do that too?
Yep, I do that. Actually, on my second channel, Basecamp, that's like my educational channel.
Yep.
I do hire editors for that. That's like the one. I'm getting better at like not doing everything myself. So there I have editors. I haven't done too many shorts on that channel yet. So on my channel, the shorts, it's all edited by me.
Charles, can I get you to maybe play a couple more tracks?
Yeah,
That'd
sure.
be great. Excellent. Charles, who's doing all the backing track stuff? Is that all you?
No, so that's Burnt. He's doing the guitar and all of the other sounds that you hear.
Nice.
For my YouTube videos, I pretty much always do all the backing tracks myself, which is a time-consuming process. But it's worth it. It allows me to just go on my own schedule and just pump it out as fast as I can. And I think it makes it more unique to me as well. And also, it's a great way to learn a lot of instruments.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned a lot about guitar through having to do guitar backing tracks all the time. I'm really quick at programming drums now because I'm having to do it like, crunch time.
You want to just do one more?
Okay.
So tell me about this one. What is this one?
This one's called Elevated. It's just an all-out funky slap. Should be fun.
Cool. Fantastic.
Thanks.
Loved it. Charles, it's been a pleasure to have you here and hear you play. Man.
Thanks so much.
Amazing. Follow Charles on YouTube. I'll put the link to his channel in the description and his Instagram. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Pleasure to have you on and to hear you play, man.
It's been awesome. Thanks so much.
Cool.